My fiancée canceled our wedding. Then her brother sent me a bill and texted, "Pay this or I will erase you." I forwarded the message to my uncle, who is a former police detective. Now he's handling things in his own way. I'm 32 male, and up until a few weeks ago, I thought I had my life figured out. I have a good job in IT, a decent apartment, and I had a fiancée, Natalie, 29, who I thought I was going to spend my life with. Our wedding was 3 months away. The venue was booked, deposits were paid, my suit was hanging in the closet. Then I got the call. It was a Tuesday afternoon, a voicemail. "Hey," her voice was flat. "We need to talk. I can't do this. I'm calling off the wedding, I'm sorry." That was it. I tried calling back, texting, nothing. When I went by her place, her car was gone. The silence was absolute. The confusion and humiliation were suffocating. I had to start making the calls, telling my family, telling our friends. Each conversation was a fresh wave of embarrassment. The financial side was a gut punch. I'd fronted most of the non-refundable deposits from my savings, trusting that we'd even it all out later. The venue, the caterer, the photographer, it was about $15,000 down the drain. It hurt, but honestly, the money felt secondary to the feeling of being completely discarded. I was resigned to just eating the cost and trying to piece my life back together. That's when it went from a personal tragedy to something much uglier. Friday night, 3 days after the voicemail, I get a text from an unknown number. It's a picture of a spreadsheet, a bill for $28,450, listing every dime her family had supposedly spent. Her dress, the invitations, even the bachelorette party favors. Below it, the message, "This is what you owe us for wasting our time and money. My parents are devastated. You need to make this right. Pay this or I will erase you." My blood ran cold. It was Natalie's brother, Gabriel, 34. No doubt about it. He works in private security and carries himself like he's perpetually on a mission. He has this intense self-important air about him, and he never thought I was good enough for his sister. Erase you. It was vague, but it felt heavy with menace. What did it even mean? My first instinct was pure rage. I wanted to text back, to tell him where to go. But a deeper, colder feeling took over, fear. Gabriel is an unpredictable guy. I had no interest in finding out what his breaking point was. I stared at the phone, my mind racing. Then I thought of my uncle. My Uncle Roy, 58, isn't some Hollywood action hero. He's a quiet guy who spent 20 years as a police detective before moving into corporate security consulting. He assesses threats for a living. He's methodical, calm, and understands how people like Gabriel think. He's the person you call when things get serious. With shaking hands, I forwarded him the screenshot of the bill and the text. I just wrote, "Uncle Roy, I think I'm in some trouble. This is from Natalie's brother. She called off the wedding 3 days ago." His reply came back in less than a minute. "Don't reply. Don't engage. Save it. I'll call you in 5. Reading that, I felt the knot in my stomach loosen just a fraction. Gabriel thought he was dealing with me, a heartbroken IT guy. He didn't realize he had just made a professional miscalculation, and my uncle was about to help me handle it the right way. Update 1. It's been a slow, frustrating few weeks. First off, thank you for the support in the comments. It's been a genuine help to read them. For anyone thinking this would be a quick and satisfying story, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Real life is a lot more paperwork. Uncle Roy called me back that night, and his voice was all business. "Okay, this is a classic intimidation tactic from an amateur," he said, after I'd explained everything. "He feels powerful, and he thinks you're weak right now. We're going to use his arrogance against him." He laid out a plan. It wasn't about revenge, it was about building a defensive wall, brick by brick. First, I went to the police station in the next town over, just as he suggested. I filed a report about the text. The officer was professional but candid. He said the phrase, "erase you," was ambiguous, and without a clear history of violence, it wasn't enough for them to act on. But he agreed it was good to have it officially documented. He gave me a report number and said it would be on file if anything else happened. This was step 1, creating a paper trail. Second, I called the lawyer Roy recommended, Alan Chen. Alan was sharp, no nonsense. He listened to the whole story and then gave me a reality check. "Legally, you owe them nothing," he said. "In fact, you have a solid claim for the $15,000 in deposits you lost. However, suing them will be a long, messy, and expensive process. Our immediate priority is the harassment from the brother Gabriel. The goal here is to make them go away. He drafted a formal cease and desist letter. It was sent via courier to Gabriel's home address. The letter was simple. It stated that a police report had been filed regarding his threatening message and that any further contact would result in an application for a restraining order and potential civil action. For about a week, there was silence. I started to hope that was the end of it. I was wrong. The entitlement was just regrouping. Natalie's mom, Grace, called me. I saw her name and my stomach churned. I let it go to voicemail, just like Alan said. The message she left was a masterclass in emotional manipulation. "I'm so disappointed in you," she began, her voice thick with fake sadness. "Natalie is just heartbroken. And then we get this letter from your lawyer, accusing Gabriel. He was just being a protective big brother. His emotions were running high because of what you did to his sister." She then pivoted. "Frankly, a man with honor would see the financial pain he's caused and make it right. It's the least you could do." She never once mentioned Natalie calling off the wedding. In her version of the story, I was the one who had wronged them all. I saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Alan. His response? "Good. This establishes a pattern. Keep saving everything." Then, Natalie herself started emailing. The first was angry. "How could you send a lawyer after my brother? This is insane." I ignored it. A few days later, a second one arrived. "I can't believe how selfish you're being. My parents are out thousands of dollars. I'm out thousands. You owe us that money. If you just pay it, we can all move on." The lack of accountability was stunning. My pain, our relationship, none of it mattered. It was a simple debt collection in her eyes. I forwarded it to Alan. I asked my uncle what he thought about Gabriel's job. Roy was cautious. "I made a discreet inquiry through a professional contact," he said carefully. "I didn't mention your name or the specifics. I just asked about the general reputation of his firm and what their tolerance for employee misconduct was. The person I spoke to confirmed they have a very strict code of conduct. The C&D letter being sent to his house is one thing, but if it were ever sent to his workplace, it would trigger a major HR issue." He didn't make a dramatic call to a VP. He just gathered intelligence. He was mapping out the battlefield. So here I am. 3 weeks in, I'm down $15. I have lawyers' bills starting to pile up, and my ex's family is painting me as a villain while harassing me for money. There's no satisfaction yet. It's just a slow, grinding, and anxious process. They thought they could bully me, and for now, it feels like they're succeeding in making my life a living hell. Update 2. Hey everyone. It's been a slog. Things have escalated, but not in a cinematic way. It's been a slow, ugly grind of legal maneuvering and low-level psychological warfare. The cease and desist didn't stop them. It just made them change tactics. Gabriel was smart enough not to contact me directly again. Instead, he tried to get clever. A mutual acquaintance, someone I considered a friend, called me up. After some awkward small talk, he said, "Hey man, Gabriel's pretty stressed. He told me he's worried this legal thing could affect his job. He said it was all just a big misunderstanding, and he hopes he'll drop it before it gets ugly." It was a clear attempt to use a proxy to pressure me, a violation of the spirit, if not the letter, of the C&D. I told the friend that my lawyer was handling all communication and ended the call. Then I wrote down a summary of the conversation with the time and date and sent it to Alan. Alan was annoyed but pragmatic. It's a violation, but a he said, she said one. It shows they aren't backing down though. It's time to apply more pressure. That pressure came in the form of filing a civil suit. We sued Natalie for the $15,000 deposit money, and we named Gabriel in the suit for harassment. This was the point of no return. As expected, they lawyered up and fought back. Their lawyer's response was predictable, that my suit was frivolous, that the emotional distress of the breakup was mutual, and that Gabriel's text was hyperbole spoken in a moment of family crisis. They were trying to drag it out, hoping I'd run out of money or patience. And honestly, I almost did. The legal fees were adding up. I had moments where I thought about just dropping it all to make it stop. I was anxious all the time, constantly checking my email for updates from Alan. It was taking a toll. The real escalation came from Natalie's dad, Ralph. He showed up at my office. The receptionist called my desk. "There's a Ralph here, says it's a personal matter." My blood turned to ice. My hands were shaking. I wanted to run out and scream at him, but Alan and Roy's voices were in my head. "Do not engage. Let them self-destruct." I took a deep breath and told the receptionist, "I'm not available. Please ask him to leave the premises, or I will have to call security." I watched on the office's security feed. I saw him argue with the receptionist, his face getting redder and redder. When our building security came out, he caused a scene before they escorted him out. It wasn't a dramatic brawl, it was just a sad, angry man being removed from a lobby. But it was everything Alan needed. The act of showing up at my workplace after a civil suit involving harassment had been filed was a monumental mistake. Alan immediately filed for a temporary restraining order against both Gabriel and Ralph. This time, with the police report, the C&D, the proxy threat, and now a documented incident at my job, the judge approved it. They were served a few days later. Meanwhile, Gabriel's stress at work became very real. Alan sent a formal notice of the lawsuit and the newly granted TRO to the legal department at Aegis Security. This wasn't a friendly call from an old SEAL buddy. This was a formal legal notification that one of their armed employees was now legally forbidden from approaching me. According to a source Alan has, this triggered an immediate internal investigation. Gabriel wasn't fired on the spot. He was placed on administrative leave and had his field duties revoked pending the outcome of the investigation. The wheels of corporate justice were turning, slowly, but they were turning. So this is where we are. It's a war of attrition. They are trying to wear me down, and I'm trying to hold my ground. The satisfaction is minimal. The stress is immense. But for the first time, with that restraining order in hand, I feel like I have a shield. It's not over, but I'm still standing. Update 3. It's been a long, quiet, and expensive battle. The turning point didn't come with a bang, but in the sterile environment of a deposition room. As part of the civil suit's discovery process, Alan got to question Natalie under oath. For hours, he went over the timeline of our breakup. He was calm, methodical. He had done his homework. He'd done some social media digging and found a few old photos of Natalie with an ex-boyfriend. He noticed that one of the ex's relatives had liked a few of Natalie's recent posts right before she broke up with me. It was a flimsy breadcrumb, but it was enough for a good lawyer. He asked her about her social life in the months before the breakup. She gave vague answers. He asked if she had been in contact with any ex-boyfriends. She hesitated and then said no. That was the mistake. A lie, under oath. Alan then produced her credit card statements, which he had subpoenaed. He pointed to several charges: a dinner at an expensive restaurant I'd never been to, a charge for a hotel bar across town. He asked her to explain them. She started to stammer. She couldn't. Cornered, her story crumbled. She admitted she had reconnected with her wealthy ex. She admitted they had been seeing each other for weeks before she ended our engagement. She tried to frame it as being confused, that the damage was done. Then Alan pivoted to Gabriel. He asked her if she knew Gabriel was going to text me. She denied it. He then showed her their phone records, showing a flurry of texts and a long phone call between her and Gabriel, right before he sent me the "erase you" message. He asked again, "Did you instruct your brother to intimidate your fiancée into paying for your canceled wedding?" Her lawyer told her not to answer. But her silence, after all the other lies, was an answer in itself. This was the leverage Alan needed. We didn't have a smoking gun email laying out the conspiracy. What we had was better. Sworn testimony filled with lies and circumstantial evidence that painted a very clear picture of deceit and coordinated harassment. Their case was now incredibly weak. Faced with the prospect of Natalie being sanctioned for perjury and the increasingly ugly picture of their family's actions, their lawyer pushed for mediation. They wanted to avoid a public court battle. Gabriel's career also hit its inevitable end. The combination of the permanent restraining order, which was granted after the deposition, and the evidence that he was part of a coordinated attempt to intimidate me was more than enough for his employer. He was terminated for cause, losing his license in the process. He wasn't the victim of a powerful conspiracy, he was just an idiot who got caught. The victory here wasn't a sudden knockout. It was a slow, grinding win on points, achieved through patience, process, and a very good lawyer. The sense of satisfaction is starting to creep in, but it's muted, tempered by the exhaustion of the fight. Final update. Hello everyone. This will be my last post on this. It's been a full year since my old life blew up. We settled in mediation. There was no giant, movie-style payout. It wasn't about ruining them, it was about making me whole and ensuring they never bothered me again. The final settlement was practical. They had to pay me back the $15,000 for the wedding deposits. They had to pay a significant portion, about 2/3, of my legal fees. I still had to eat some of it, which stings, but it was worth it for the resolution. A permanent, legally binding no-contact order was put in place for the entire family. To pay for it, Ralph and Grace had to take out a home equity loan. It wasn't a ruinous amount that would put them on the street, but it was a serious financial blow that will impact their retirement plans, a direct consequence of their greed and their son's aggression. The aftermath for them has been quiet but bleak. Gabriel is, as far as I know, still unemployed, living at home. His tough guy act cost him everything. Ralph and Grace are financially strained. And Natalie? I don't know what happened with her ex-boyfriend. I don't care. My friend who does the social media snooping says there's no sign of them together. There's no poetic justice of her working as a hostess. The reality is probably far more mundane. She's just a 30-year-old woman whose dishonesty and poor judgment fractured her family and tarnished her reputation among those who know the real story. Her consequence isn't a dramatic fall, but a quiet slide into a life she didn't plan, carrying the weight of what she did. As for me, the past year has been about rebuilding. The settlement money came through, and after paying off the rest of my lawyer, I put it away. It didn't feel like a victory prize, just a reimbursement for a very expensive lesson. I'm not the same person I was. The betrayal left a mark, a wariness that I didn't have before. I'm more guarded, and I'm still working on trusting my own judgment again. I've been in therapy and it's helping. About a month ago, I was in the grocery store in a neighboring town. I turned a corner and there she was, standing in the aisle, looking at a can of tomatoes. Natalie. She looked ordinary, stressed, a little tired. She saw me. Her eyes widened for a second, a flash of panic and shame. She immediately dropped her gaze to her shopping cart and quickly pushed it away down the aisle. I just stood there for a moment. I felt no anger, no satisfaction. I felt nothing at all. She was just a person in a grocery store, a stranger. I turned and continued with my shopping. They didn't erase me. They cost me a year of my life, a lot of money, and a piece of my faith in people. But I'm still here. I survived. I'm moving forward. They are stuck in the wreckage they created. The best revenge wasn't some grand scheme. It was just living my life, letting the legal system do its slow, grinding work, and letting them face the very real, very boring consequences of their own actions. Thank you all for listening. It's time to close this chapter for good.